Hi there, it's been a while, but I'm back with a very interesting topic, audio interfaces. The audio interface market has seen some rapid developments and interesting developments the past 2 years. Everybody can buy a cheap, very high quality interface with a lot of features for an amazing price. But if these budget interfaces are so good, why are there audio interfaces that's 500 euros, 1000 euros, and even 5000 euros and over? In my search for a new audio interface, I ask myself these questions, and in this video, I'm gonna share the findings with you. I've identified roughly 4 categories to structure this video, and those are audio and data connectivity, preamps and AD/DA conversion, features, and lastly, modularity and tailoring. Starting off with category number 1, audio and data connectivity. For data connectivity, there are 2 options for all tiers of audio interfaces, either USB or Thunderbolt. In general, Thunderbolt is regarded as a better choice because of its higher capacity and faster speeds. However, RME Audio made a very interesting video on why the USB 2 protocol is still very viable to this day. And additionally, your PC will probably be the bottleneck anyways, and not the speed at which your cable can transfer data. Additionally, there is also Firewire. I'm not gonna talk about it because it's a very niche connection and not used that much, so it really depends if the manufacturer updates the firmware or not for the longevity of your audio interface. If you are going for a high-end interface and it only supports Thunderbolt, you can buy PCIe cards for Thunderbolt to slot into your computer. However, they are very expensive considering they do just one thing, and as RME explained, probably USB types are more than sufficient to run any kind of setup. Though the point here is that you can tailor your setup to your specific needs, and this is going to be a recurring topic throughout this entire video. Moving on to audio connectivity, the actual reason we buy audio interfaces to connect your microphones, outboard gear, whatever to your computer. Low budget interfaces usually come with 1 to 4 channels, of which 1 to 2 are preamps, and these are connected by physical connections such as XLR or a 1/4 inch jack. At tier higher interfaces usually have the same type of connection, though a little bit more of them and probably a bit better build quality and some DSP included, but that's for a different section in this video. Let's take a look at one mid-tier interface, the Arturia AudioFuse 8 Pre. It has 8 preamps, as the name suggests, and 8 outputs. It costs about 700 euros, which is considerably more than a complete control or an SSL2 Plus. But the thing the 8 Pre offers that those don't offer is the option to expand the setup through ADAT. Opposed to XLR or a 1/4 inch jack, ADAT carries audio, but it's a digital format and not an analog format. So what the ADAT connection allows you to do on the 8 Pre is to expand your setup. If you got a huge band you need to record and you need more than 8 channels, you buy a second 8 Pre, you use ADAT to link them together, and then you suddenly have 16 channels ready to go. You can see that the mid-tier interface here has more features, more expandability as opposed to the lower tier ones. Moving up another tier, the type of connection and the expandability and the options just becomes bigger, and really the difference between analog and digital connectivity comes into play. In the beginning, I was a little bit confused. I saw these big interfaces, rack units, a lot of channels, and I was like, where are the XLRs? Where are the jack? How do you plug a microphone into that? I just didn't really understand, so I had to really learn about the different types of connectivity. One video that really helped me click, was the Anderton's music store video collaboration with Cranbourne Audio, where they connected an Apollo to a 500 series Cranbourne Audio chassis. As I just lightly touched upon, there is more than just ADAT. You can, for example, also send audio over Ethernet. Yes, that really simple Ethernet cable you plug into your router and then in your PC. You can also send audio over that. Dante and SDI are examples of this fiber optic connection. The channel count for a fiber optic connection is huge. I'm not talking about 1 or 2, no, I'm talking about hundreds. It's really mind-blowing. And the biggest benefit of that is perhaps that you only need a single cable. And in addition to that, you can run this type of cable for a very long distance without losing quality because it's a digital signal. This makes it great for live situations or for bigger studios that need to connect multiple studios to the same control room. A next connection type is a coaxial connection. You probably recall your TV connection right now, and yes, indeed, it's exactly the same protocol. In audio, you can run this over MADI, over AES-3 EBU, and over SDI. And MADI can also be used in an optical format such as Ethernet. So there are a lot of options and a lot of connectivity here. I could also make an honorable mention to the DigiLink connection type, which is used in AVID protocol and Pro Tools setups. It's a bit niche and only used by the biggest studios that really work with only Pro Tools, but not interesting for the smaller studios. If you know a little bit about these connection types, you are screaming at the screen, why haven't I mentioned DB25? Well, that's because it's for me the most important one and I want to pay a bit more attention to it. You can understand DB25 as going from one cable on one end to a breakout cable with 8 connections on the other end. This makes it ideal for compact small studio with a lot of outboard gear situations. And also for the audio interface itself, this type of connection is perfect to keep the one rack unit high units very compact, because you can't possibly just force a lot of jack or XLR connectivity. There's just not that much space. So the DB25 connection allows you to put 8 channels on a relatively small cartridge, let's say, and it's a very small imprint on the device itself. Coming back to a bit simpler and normal English, lower budget interfaces allow you great quality and perhaps limited connectivity. Moving up a tier, you get better connectivity and the possibility to expand your setup, so to allow your setup to grow with your interface. And then moving up a tier higher, you get an insane channel count, and at that point, if you're looking to buy these type of audio interfaces, you probably know what your studio needs. But still, as a small studio owner, I think it's important to be aware of the possibilities of connection. And for me, it really makes me think about my situation and what I actually need, so I can buy the optimal audio interface without spending too much or spending too little and not getting exactly the connectivity or expandability options I need. Moving on to the second category, preamps and AD/DA conversion. As I mentioned before, budget interfaces usually come with 1 to 4 channels, of which 1 to 2 are preamps. When you move up a tier, you just get more preamps, more line level I/O. But then a strange thing happens at the highest end interfaces. You get either a lot of preamps or no preamps at all and only line level I/O. But what's the point if you can't even connect a microphone to your audio interface and you need to buy external preamps? For me, as I understand it, it's more about a value proposition. Take for example a big studio having a lot of preamps, or you have a smaller studio and you have these 2 preamps you really love for the tone and the character. Why would you buy an audio interface that has preamps and less line level I/O, so you can't connect your outboard gear, not as much as you would like, and still pay for that, which you're not going to use? So it does make sense that the higher up you go, it's more specific and tailored to a specific studio situation. This is why I make a particular section about preamps. It's important to think about this. Taking a closer look at connectivity. You connect your audio interface to your PC. The PC sends audio to your audio interface. Then your audio interface sends it to the analog world, to your outboard gear. The outboard gear sends it back to the audio interface, and then it's back into your computer. What happens here is a conversion from digital, your computer, to analog, your outboard hardware gear, and back to the computer, again a digital signal. This is what AD/DA conversion stands for. It's analog to digital, digital to analog. If you're gonna spend thousands on an audio interface, you want to make sure Every time this conversion happens, it's of pure quality, it's maybe even coloring a bit the way you like, but at least not degrading the signal. And I'm absolutely not saying that low-tier budget interfaces, they don't have good conversion. There is a video by Paul Third really busting this myth. That's why I specifically mentioned character or a specific tone you like in a specific audio interface. However, two notes to make: going in and out of any audio interface a few times is not gonna degrade the quality in any way. There is also a video where an engineer sent out a signal 400 times, did the conversion 400 times, and yes, of course, you can hear a difference in quality there. But even then, I think he used the Claret Pro or the Claret Pre, and the quality degradation wasn't even that bad. So if you're sending out and in 1, 2, 3, 4 times, no worries in any audio interface. The second thing is you can't really compare on paper the sound that an audio interface gives. And unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to really delve into hands-on experience with these high-end devices. I just don't have access to them. So this part for me remains a little bit magical, and I can't make any proper well-argued statement about any of these. What is very clear on paper and used a lot in marketing is the features that an audio interface comes with. And that is section number 3, features. What I mean by features is bundled DSP, plugins, internal routing matrix, or a specific type of preamp included on the hardware. This all serves to bump up the value proposition and the perceived value of this specific hardware unit. And this perceived value is why this section is perhaps the most difficult one for me to cover. Because it is up to you what you perceive as being of added value to you. If you just want high quality ADDA conversion and line level I/O, then you don't need DSP or bundled plugins. But if you don't have preamps and you really need the plugins and you really need the preamps on your hardware device, then your idea of a good value proposition is very different. Perhaps a very positive finding here is that the budget interface section really shines in features. Take for example the UAD Volt. They got newly released and they include an 1176 compressor right on the hardware, right on the audio interface itself. I mean, before this you had to buy an audio interface and then an external compressor, which would bump up the price. And for what UAD is offering here, it's brilliant. It's an insane value proposition for any starting mixing engineer or any starting producer. Another semi-budget interface that has features like this is the Steinberg URRT series. These include the Neve transformers right on the preamp. So if you want to get the Neve console or the Neve 1073 sound, this unit is perfect for you. I mean, it's a brilliant value proposition. Moving up a tier, we can best look at the Apollo series interfaces by UAD. They are probably the market leader in this section. They offer DSP, they offer their own plugins, so it's really a good value for what you are getting. However, I also discovered with the help of Reddit that this bundle, this DSP and software package is aging a bit, because not only is UAD making their plugins native now, so you don't even need UAD hardware to run their plugins. Also, DSP computers are getting more powerful and they can handle big sessions. They don't particularly need external chips to assist in running plugins and maintain a low latency in recording sessions. So there are some that say DSP is going away, but there are also voices that say DSP is here to stay. In June we have the LA NAMM show, at which probably some really fancy new audio interfaces are presented. So I'm curious to see which direction the market is going. When we move up a tier, not all interfaces come with DSP or bundled plugins or anything to bump up the perceived value. Take for example the Lynx Aurora or the Burl Mothership. It's difficult to pronounce. These are in essence just a chassis with a place to put a card in or just a connectivity type. So these units you can really tailor to yourself. If you want to go for more preamps than I/O, line level I/O, you can do that. So this is really a particular development in the high-end interfaces that I'm looking forward to see. Though not all interfaces in this category are like this. Take for example the Antelope audio interfaces. I believe it's the Orion Synergy Core. These come bundled with a bunch of DSP, with a bunch of plugins, and are really more software based. This is perhaps also the perfect segue to the next segment, which is tailoring and modularity. I've briefly touched upon it in all categories so far, and here I would like to combine all of the findings into this one specific category. So you see, every tier of interface and every type of interface offers something specific that the other doesn't. This really forces you to look at your situation. What do you need? What do you want? What is ideal in your situation? Based on this, an interface that's worth $100 might be far better than something that's $6,000. But also think in terms of connectivity and expansibility. For example, if you buy a lower tier interface, they might not have ADAT. So if your situation and your studio grows, you have to buy a new one because you can't expand through ADAT and have the extra channels. Or for example, if you think a high-end audio phase is a bit too expensive, but you really need a 24 channel count or whatever, then you might need to buy 2 mid-tier interfaces, which might be more expensive than one high-tier interface. So it really depends on your situation. And that's the thing I like about the Lynx and the Burl. Okay, these are really expensive, but I like the way they are thinking. They just give you a chassis and you need to pop in some units that make it the hardware interface perfectly fit for your solution. You're not paying for things you don't need. You don't have extra stuff you also just don't need or not yet need, and you have the option to expand as you go along. If you know any other companies right now that have this modular approach, please let me know down in the comments, because I'm fascinated by this and I really hope to see more of this personalized approach, because it's really good for us as consumers. All these value propositions and features and whatever have really forced me to delve deep into the land of audio interfaces to see what I need versus what I want versus what is nice to have. And this rabbit hole went down pretty damn deep, and I'm not even close to finding the perfect audio interface for me. So if you are very happy with your interface, please let me know in the comments. Let's get the discussion started. What works for you? What didn't work for you? Let's try to learn and help each other find the perfect buy. If you are interested in going down the rabbit hole just like me a bit more, in the description I've put some of my sources, some interesting videos, for example the one by Paul Third and Enerton's Audio, and also some of the interfaces I've personally been looking at but haven't decided yet. Thank you so much for checking out this video, and I will see you in the next one.